Chris, did you know that electric bikes have been around way before mountain bikes have?
No, no idea.
Yeah, it goes back to 1881. A Frenchman called Gustave Trouvé.
He's the guy that invented the electric tricycle, right?
Yeah, I guess it was a tricycle. I guess tricycles are for kids, right? Hey, can you imagine what you'd have had an electric bike when you were a kid?
Oh, I'd have loved it. Imagine how much time you'd have spent riding up those hills instead of pushing.
Do you know what? I see loads of kids these days with really nice downhill bikes. They spend more time pushing the downhill bike than riding it.
Makes no sense to me.
So today on the EMBN show, we're going to be asking the question, are e-bikes for kids? So are e-bikes for kids then? Well, from the feedback that we've been getting, plus seeing what we're seeing out and about on the trails, is that yes, those kids that have ridden an e-bike, they're totally into them. At the same time, there are a lot of younger people out there who genuinely believe that e-bikes are for lazy and unfit people. So it really depends on who you come across, and it comes back to that misinformation about e-bikes. When it comes to demographic, Chris, it seems that the demographic of e-bike riders is between about 34 to 54 years old, because you know e-bikes are quite expensive, right? What's your feelings on it?
Yeah, I think generally tend to see those older riders on the e-bikes too, but I think those times are slightly changing. I think like on social media I see quite a few of the younger guys getting into it now. I've seen 25, 30-year-old guys doing big road gaps and jumps on their e-bikes. Guys that probably were about riding downhill bikes who've actually been to a test day, ridden one, and actually jumped on board that e-bike bandwagon.
Yeah, I guess the big thing with e-bikes is the cost involved. Now, they don't come cheaply. I think, some probably you look at maybe a Canyon or a Vitus at £3,600. It's a lot of money to invest in a bike. But I guess it depends on how much you're into them. I do see younger riders between sort of 18 and 24 with e-bikes. But if you think about it, it's a big chunk of your salary. Now, when I was younger, when I was like 18 to 19, bikes, mountain bikes, trials bikes were my life. And I used to spend, I think, about a fifth of my salary on two wheels. I mean, I was quite lucky because I was cleaning cars and lived in a caravan for free at the time. But I used to put all my spare money into bikes, right? Yeah. What about you?
I always had a flash set of bikes. I'd always have a few hundred or a few £1,000s planted into bikes, but then I'd be driving around in a 500 quid car, living at my parents for nothing. That important thing was your bike.
But I think you brought an important point up a couple of weeks ago, is that an e-bike replaces your downhill bike and your enduro bike and your cross-country bike. So, I do see a lot of younger people with three lots of bikes, whereas you get an e-bike and you're going to be, it does everything for you. Definitely. So surely in the long run, it's going to be less expensive.
Cheaper,
but at the same time, I guess, if the point when e-bikes come down to like £2,000 to £3,000, is that the point where it shifts down into the 20-year-old rider?
I think so, yeah. That definitely, the cost is a big sort of stumbling point at the moment in my books. Speaking to a lot of people, they'd love one, but they simply just can't afford it.
Yeah. Well, a couple of weeks ago, we were out and about on the trails and we bumped into father and son who had a brace of e-bikes. And this is what they had to say about the whole business. Now, one of the great things about e-bikes is that riders of mixed abilities, mixed ages can go for bike rides together. Now, I'd love to have gone for a ride with my dad when I was younger, but he had a bad leg, so I couldn't do it. So here in the Forest of Dean, I've just come across Martin and Lewis, who've got a beautiful brace of Rocky Mountain power plays. Guys, these look brand new, right?
They are. Picked up last Saturday from Zero Bikes.
All right.
Fantastic.
Wow. So did you have an e-bike before?
No, peddler.
Lewis?
No, just a peddler.
You had a standard mountain bike, right?
Yes, the one without the engine in.
Did you have any peer pressure to, from your mates that you're going to ride an e-bike?
I did have a little bit, but then I thought, I tried one and then I was in love, really. So, yeah.
So who's the inspiration in these two purchases then?
A bloke by the name of Mr. Keith Moon said, get out there and have a go on them. You will love them. And from the day of getting on one, first 5 minutes, that was it. We were sold.
Right. So do you guys go for rides together?
Yes, but I was always lagging behind, puffing like you don't know what.
We had a question in last week on the Ask EMBN that we had a young lad saying that he's a bit worried about getting an e-bike because he feels too young, and a lot of his mates are saying they're for old people. But it's just riding flat out in the woods, right?
Yeah, it's just so much fun, really. So, yeah.
But will you ride your? I mean, I guess you'll ride your classic mountain bike at the same time, right?
Well,
Oh, right. Didn't expect that answer. So, Martin, do you find that you ride in more often on an e-bike?
Yeah, we ride more often, further, longer, further trails. Great fun. And I can keep up, which is great. He might be an eco on trail.
Ah, right. That's a good point, actually. So do you find you're constantly switching between modes then? Either you to keep up with your dad, or your dad to keep up with you? How does it work?
Well, it depends really. I'm mostly an eco, like we were saying, but sometimes I'll see a steeper section and I'll think I'll go for it on this one.
But I guess the top power motor on these power plays is pretty powerful, right?
They are very powerful.
I guess that's just for the technical riding.
Well, it is fun to whack up the fire road a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
Straight in boost. But
Do you mind me asking how old you are, Lewis?
I am 17.
Whoa, 17. Crikey. Martin, I want to ask you earlier. It's rude, isn't it?
No, it's not. 49.
So there you go. It's really good to see two guys having a great time out on the trails, just sharing the ride together, right?
Yeah, it is fantastic. Get one. If you want one, get one.
Wow, there's two guys having a really good time on their e-bikes in the hills. Now, however, Chris, I don't think that we can get away from the fact that e-bikes are associated with old people. You know,
Definitely.
you hear the comments out there, oh, only when I cannot get up the hills when I'm going to
My
go to
legs
an
stop
e-bike.
working and things like that. Yeah.
So there is a very, very genuine peer pressure out there for kids. They see a lot of older people ride them. So it's still very young, right? Because if you think about it, if you think of motocross, right?
Yeah.
Younger riders, they definitely look up to those motocross stars such as supercross riders Jason Anderson or Eli Tomac. I mean, they're seen as heroes. Whereas in e-biking, there's, apart from yourself and Sam Pilgrim, there's less people, right?
Yeah,
so how much do you think peer pressure has to do with it?
I think, as you say, peer pressure, but going back to that motocross comment as well, obviously those bikes are really expensive too. You're talking sort of $4 or $5 for a decent motocross bike. So I don't think cost is so important. I think it's definitely that image sort of coolness thing that you mentioned about kids being cool and riding e-bikes. It doesn't seem to go at the moment, but hopefully, I think, we see guys like Ollie Wilkins, Bernard Kerr, Brendan Fairclough, a few of the other Brits, Sam Pilgrim, etc., doing all the cool stuff on their e-bikes. It's actually going to influence those kids and make them want to ride e-bikes,
100%.
seeing what the possibilities are, because as we all know, they're way more capable than a normal mountain bike.
Yeah, because I think then by, you guys, like the ones you just mentioned, they're going to actually help to break down the stigma associated with e-bikes by doing all, the whole variety of skills you can do.
Yeah. And word on the street is that we're actually going to see some of the cool kids on e-bikes next year, so keep your eyes open for that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, some big names coming across the e-bikes. So talking to kids, I saw this awesome clip out on Instagram last week. Vinny T is 23 years old, ridden Rampage, he rides a Fest Series, one of the big freeride guys, normally hits stuff on his downhill bike, but he's got the e-bike out, GHETTO. The lifts are closed, but he's shuttling runs up and down.
Yeah, so he's riding the Scott Genius, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I can see loads more of this happening. A lot of those chairlift places, they close down in the winter. I know for a fact that the Commensal guys down in Andorra, the chairlift closes in September time,
Right.
And it's a long, long way to the top of that mountain.
Christ,
But it's an amazing mountain to ride downhill bikes and enduro bikes. So they simply just ride their e-bikes from from September through till May. So that's opened up a huge new window for them to do.
Previously closed, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah.
So what new bikes we got this week, Steve?
Well, Chris, it wouldn't be appropriate that we had affordable bikes this week. So this is from Radon. It's the Swoop Hybrid. 170mm travel up front, 165 on the rear.
Yeah.
This is a really serious gravity bike. It's got 29-inch wheels. It's got a Bosch motor on it. But, for €3,499,
good price.
that has got to be one of the more affordable e-bikes out there. So I'd like to have a closer look at this bike. Obviously, we saw it earlier in the year at the Garda Festival in Italy, and it's a really much anticipated bike for people who can't afford those £5,000-6,000 e-bikes out there. And I'm sure it'll be very, very capable.
So briefly touched on it last week. There's also a nice new bike from Norco called the Sight, and we've been talking to Bryn Atkinson, right, Steve?
Yeah, that's right. I had a Skype call with Bryn last week. Now Bryn, to give you a bit of background, he is ex-World Cup racer, Sam Hill's teammate from back in 2003, 2004 when he rode for Mad Cat's Iron Horse. Probably one of the most stylish mountain bike riders on the planet.
Definitely,
yeah. And he's got a lot to say about e-bikes. He's opened a whole new chapter in his riding career. Do you think your setup on the e-bike is different to a conventional bike?
Yeah, I think so. Like, I kind of, like, as I said, like, I haven't, like, I mean, I'm only a noob or at the whole e-bike thing, right? But I kind of think that to me, like, it's such a different style of riding, like, and it's opened up like a whole nother sort of genre, you know, like it's even like kind of, it's kind of taken me back to like my early days as a mountain biker, like discovering mountain biking, you know, like,
Is that a good thing?
What's that?
Is that a good thing?
Yeah, no, it is for sure. And I got to be careful here because like it's pretty sensitive where we live, you know, like the local trails just got like passed a little rule where e-bikes aren't allowed up there, you know, on the local mountain because that like those local trails, the landowner, the rule is non-motorized use. Yeah. And that's a pretty blurry line, you know, so.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? Because there's so many different types of e-bike. I mean, the e-bike that you've been riding is 250 watts. Yeah, you can have e-bikes which are like 1500 watts. So clearly,
that's so gnarly.
So that's closer to a motorcycle than a mountain bike. So I think the bikes that we ride are like mountain bikes. Yeah, there are very powerful e-bikes out there. So I think it's a difficult moment in time, right?
Yeah, getting back to what I was saying with like learning the bike and what it's sort of done for me, just at that little experience, it like just discovering new areas of trail. Whereas like, you know, when I was racing World Cup, like that's literally been my whole career. Yeah. You know, you become very, very picky about what you ride, right? You know, you just want to ride downhill and, you know, you climb up or shuttle up. And so, like, since I've stopped racing, you know, like I still sort of share that same mentality. Like, I want to pedal, but obviously I want more of my ride to be descending, you know? Yeah. And I don't think that's uncommon with any mountain biker, really, but I guess I'm probably just a little more picky, you know? But with the e-bike thing, man, I was just like, yeah, it's cool to like ride up a trail and maybe get another run than I normally wouldn't, or I could, but I'd have to pedal and it's just even longer. Yeah, that's cool, but like, I mean, I don't mind having to pedal up, but what was really cool for me, man, was just like being able to like go to these new places where mountain bikes don't ordinarily ride, whether they're motorcycle trails or whatever. And dude, it's just like my favorite literally is like the trails that are just like up, down, up, down. It's just like a constant like you and it's kind of like when I grew up riding mountain bikes in Australia, that's what it was. It wasn't like how it is where we live now. Like we have these huge descents. You know, you'll climb for an hour or, you know, whatever, and you'll descend for, you know, 15, 20 minutes, pinning it, you know?
So there's obviously it's e-bikes have changed the type of riding you do, right? So,
sure, yeah. I'd kind of categorize it like I'd be like, okay, I'm going to go for an e-bike ride and I'll, you know, go ride somewhere else, you know, like that kind of caters to how I like to ride it, you know? Like that's literally one of my favorite things to do is just like navigate new trail and just kind of, but still be attacking it, you know? And so like that was kind of like what I was so excited about at first was just like, you know, finding these new areas and then like you can come around a turn and it's like, you know, there's a tree down and it's like on a motorcycle you'd have to be like, bird, but you just hit and stuff, but just bunny hop that puppy and you're gone, you know, like, but then just like still attacking and just pretending it's just all like in that sort of reacting phase, you know, so.
One question from the guys in the office, they're asking if you're still keeping the tyres on the rims on the e-bike.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, as I said, it's not as I don't hit the turns like I kind of like haven't really been taking it to a trail where there's like a groomed berm, you know, like where you'd be like, wow, you know, and that hasn't happened in years actually. Like the stands rims are actually really good, and for the most part, I run like a lot of pressure in the tires, so they stay on there. So.
So the answer's not yet.
No, not yet.
Okay, let's go. It's time to get tricksy.
This week we'll be taking a look at the fakie. Welcome to Electrics, the part of the show where we show you how to do all those cool tricks on your e-bike. Today we're going to be taking a look at the fakie. Fakie means riding backwards on your e-bike, not sitting on the handlebars or on the seat backwards, but in the regular position, but actually travelling backwards whilst pedalling backwards on the e-bike. Sometimes that can get you out of some sticky situations out on the trail. If you fail the start of a climb, you can roll backwards, give it another go. So let's take a look at it. Okay, so let's take a look at doing that fakie. So we come in, nice forward speed, pulling that front brake on, forming a mini endo. So we're pulling that front brake up, weight forward, scooping that back end up. As soon as that back wheel drops back down to the ground, this is where you need to let go of the brakes and let that bike go backwards down the hill. But letting that bike go backwards, it's going to feel really weird. The cranks, for one, are going to start going backwards. As soon as that back wheel spins, the cranks go backwards. So you're going to need to be back pedaling, so backwards pedaling. The handlebars are going to be all back to front and going to be all over the place too. So just practice, practice, practice. Either focus forwards, look over your shoulder. A few different techniques for this one, but build it up steady and you'll be going backwards before you know it. Just being like a medium kind of gear, like right in the middle of the block, because sometimes when you're going backwards on your bike, sometimes the derailleur will jam or the chain will come off, so just be aware of that. If you feel any resistance, just stop immediately. It means something's jamming up. So you guys might be wondering about braking on this as well. I tend to try and stay off my brakes as much as I can. You can drag them a little bit if you're feeling you're going too fast, but just try and stay off those brakes because they really affect the balance. Let's give it a go. Now you're getting ready to back pedal as well. As soon as I'm on it, back pedaling, back pedaling. So there you go, that's how to fakie. Really hope you enjoyed that one. We'll see you next week. Okay, so it's time for GHETTO Tech. What have we got this week, Steve?
Well, there's been a little bit of feedback about some mud and stones getting into the 2019 Levos. So I actually just had a phone call with Richard Butters of Raceco Cycles to talk us through a little neat little upgrade and to stop that from happening. Hey, listen, tell me, thanks for sending the photograph through about the moto foam on the Levo.
You're welcome.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what the issue there is?
Well, we've had a couple of the first drop of Levos that came. They've been complaining there was quite a lot of mud getting in there. So we basically had a look at the options. I know there's some that were looking at mud guards, but because the clearance is quite tight to the bridge on the stays, we decided that maybe a mud guard wouldn't be the best option, and moto foam would work better. Just stops a bit. It's also easy to remove to clean out the actual moto foam itself. It's close. It's reasonably close, so it should also help with actually letting the air flow through there as well, because there's still quite a lot of gaps for the air to flow through.
And in the comments this week. Now, this is in relation to the Does Power Matter, which we talked about on last week's show. This first one's from Neil Cole. It's an absolute belter. And he says, I bet the e-bike haters all have the most expensive smartphone. So what was wrong with the phone box? Stop living in the past. Get an e-bike. That's a great one. Nice one, Neil.
Nice. Got this one from John Rushworth as well. Not really. The 15.5 mile per hour Bosch CX has all the power and torque I need to make the trails enjoyable. Any more wouldn't sit well with other trail users. Quite true.
Absolutely. From Chris Cross, power 250 watts is enough, but speed limit, yes, it does matter, particularly when I'm in a hurry. Is there any chance to change the stupid regulation? Well, that's a big topic, which probably warrants further discussion, Chris.
Yeah, we've got this one from Barry Page. DIY conversions with cadence sensor systems are not the same as what most people are referring to as an eMTB. There is a big difference.
And this is what we said on the show. You know, we talk about e-mountain bikes, but there's a danger that we talk about e-bikes in general, because it is a totally different thing. You know, mountain bikes are made for riding off-road in the mountains, whereas e-bikes can refer to tarmac, commuting, whatever.
And we're not talking about e-motorcycles either. It's a different thing again.
Exactly. So as we approach the shortest day of the year, it's that time of the week where we rotate the rattling globe.
And we're looking for a place called, this one's making me hungry, Steve, Pork Rolls?
Pork rolls. I'm not sure it's pronounced pork rolls, but what I do know is from Terry Davidson, and he's telling us about this fantastic place to go e-biking off the Côte d'Azur in the south of France near Toulon. Looks amazing. It's a great place. You know, we already know that e-bikes are big news down in the south of France.
Yeah, he says, hi guys, great mountain biking on this island off the coast of Toulon. First e-bike experience on a rented Cube Reaction Pro.
It's a car-free nature reserve.
Looking at buying one himself, and this is how to do it. It's a car-free nature reserve, a plentiful of rentals and a huge range of tracks.
That's good, Nate. So you can go there and hire an e-bike and go spinning around the island.
That's like amazing.
Wow, sounds absolute heaven. Nice one, Terry. Thanks for sending that in.
This week on EMBN, we've got loads of cool content coming up. What we got?
Well, on Friday, we've got how to ride in trail mode, or should I say, how to use the middle setting on your e-bike.
We've also got top 10 ways to ruin that e-bike ride.
I tell you what, Chris, it's nice to see you with your clothes on again.
Yeah, not like in the car park, eh?
Now, don't forget the weather's getting colder to get on the shopping and get your EMBN bobble hat in the post.
Oh, there's important Christmas gifts as well. We've got lots in there. Puffer jackets, hats, team jerseys, t-shirts. We've got it all, so check out the shop.
Puffer jackets are amazing.
Kicking things off, we've got this one in from Christian. It's Mondraker Crusher Carbon RR. Hell of a picture. Look at that, Steve.
Up to you. Look, it's got some luminous liquid in there.
Looks really nice. I think we're going to kick off that one with a super nice.
Crikey.
We've got this one in from Kim, Specialised Levo Comp in Kingscliff Beach, just north of Byron Bay.
Beautiful, super nice.
Loving that. I've got this one in from Taro, Mondraker E-Crusher R.
That's in Finland. That's beautiful. So that's going to be I'm feeling it's definitely going to be a nice. Oh yes! Oh yes! Now here's a man after my old cart. He's up to the Steelworks in red car, Danny Hart territory. That's amazing. Like the thought that went into that. Definitely super nice. Yeah. Shocking. Terrible.
This one in from Lloyd.
Too dark.
Canevo. He's from Rhondda Valley though.
I don't care
from
where
Wales.
he's from. It's too dark, Lloyd. Too dark. Get that bike in the sun, or I mean, there's possibilities there. Nice. Oh my God! Look at that.
From Eliza, Trek Powerfly.
Morzine, just up St John d'Albes near Morzine, French location. Wow, that's something else, right? Gotta be.
It's above the clouds, yeah, for sure. Oh, this catalogue shot, isn't it?
Beautiful. Tromsø in northern Norway.
From Stein.
Fairdew Stein. That is, I mean, I'd like to see a little bit more light on the bike, but that is out there. Super nice.
Super nice. Well, a nice Specialised Canevo Expert.
Lovely shallow depth of field there.
From Dave, Swinley Forest.
Yeah, lovely depth of field.
Big forest meetup of 35 riders. Epic ride on the red route. So
Whoa,
big loads of...
Whoa, Chris, look at that on your court.
Yeah, I like it. Super nice.
So generous. So generous.
We got this one in from Paul, Merida E160. Yakandada Forest in Victoria, Australia. Perfect spring day for one of the best single track trails around.
Of course, they're going into their spring down there, aren't they?
I was just thinking how nice and dry that looks.
I'd love it. I'm going to give it
dark
super nice.
and wet here.
Super nice.
Anyway, that's the end of the bike vault.
End of the bike vault. Can't wait for next week.
Yeah, keep those submissions coming in. We'll get around to showing everyone's e-bikes on the show, so get them coming in using the upload service. Details are down below. So that's it. That's the end of the show. Really hope you've enjoyed it. If you want to see more cool videos from EMBN, be sure to check out The Rock, one of our most technical, hardcore climbing.
No, it wasn't technical. You can't
no,
use that word.
Not allowed to use that word
It was
anymore.
optimized.
Yeah, it's definitely a big one for us. Big day out, big climbing on our e-bikes.
And don't forget, you can like, you can share, and you can subscribe to EMBN by hitting that globe.